this is the most unusual panel I've ever chaired. Everyone was on time, which gives us an opportunity for some urgent questions. Please raise your hand. Norman? And indicate who it's aimed at.
Last night I mentioned maths and North, and I doesn't like mathematics particularly, but I want to pursue John's point. I mean, John was at Northwestern, basically being trained as an economic theorist, and he decided it was a waste of effort. But the brightest minds of every generation tend to gravitate to theory, the clever young sods. And they've been doing game theory for 20 or 30 years. And I'm not too sure whether it's been worth it, as it were. We know the economic theory, I mean, the way the market operates violates, you know, what we know about from theory, the random walks and all the rest of it. It doesn't look like that. I tend to like the math stuff, as I said, but it's very difficult to see how to formalize, to create, to structure in a mathematical way the stuff we want to deal with, you know, beliefs, institutions, all the rest of it. It's baffling. I sort of mentioned Adam Smith as well. He was sort of groping for the formalization in a way, or the conceptualization of this stuff, and guided us like for 200 years. You know. But I'm baffled about how to proceed. And I don't know whether we can proceed, you know, by experiment, by observation, by description, by chat, as it were, whether it's necessary to get the bright young minds on the job.
Norman, as you well know, I'm not against theory. I love theory. My whole life I'm an admirer of mathematical theory. What I object to is this lexicographic tendency to sort of say, think about it another way. Very often, to get to the point where you can formalize the theory, individuals and the profession must pass through the stage in which people are verbally throwing out new ideas and trying to articulate their intuition. The notion that as soon as a new idea comes, it can be articulated at the Arrow de Breu level, or even at the level of the simple optimization exercises that are typical of the journals, before it can be discussed within the profession, is ludicrous. There is simply no way that methodology is defensible. It is simply not defensible. So what happens is you get a form of free riding. People like Douglas, people like Ronald, people like Mansur Olson, to the extent that they can get their ideas out there, especially in today's world, they can get those ideas and not succeed within the paradigm of standard journals, are doing the world a favor. There's a kind of free rider problem. They get the ideas out there, and then people free ride off the ideas and then successfully convert them into testable hypotheses or into formal models. But the idea that we, particularly in economics and certain areas of political science, can only discuss these issues if they are couched in a particular kind of language. Or, that's the irony, you can ignore the language, you can ignore the model, if you get a cool enough empirical test.
Can I say something? Because I feel like I have to intervene here, because I'm hearing a conversation that doesn't totally make sense to me, at least from the perspective of political science, and I think perhaps from economic history as well. I know that the students that are being trained today in the best institutions in political science are learning multiple methods, and really taking to heart the kinds of puzzles that have been generated by the people who are idea people, who are not just Doug and Eleanor, but others in this room as well, and I think making unbelievable progress. Now, I do think economics is in more of an iron cage than some of the other disciplines because it's had a stronger theory. But it too is changing, and I don't want to leave on this note that somehow Doug has led us down a path that we can't now fulfill, because I think we're seeing lots of evidence of people taking institutions not only to heart, property rights, not only property rights, but beliefs and these things that we really, ideology, things we thought were very intangible. Some they're making progress on, some they're not, but the fact that they're trying means progress will be made. And the number of skills that my students now have are shaming to me. I can't write by myself anymore because I need them to help me. And I actually think that's a great thing. It's more of a model of science where we create collaborative teams of people, and I think that's one of the things Doug has encouraged, Eleanor certainly has encouraged, where, to make progress, we bring together multiple skills and multiple ideas and fight them out in a team and make some distance.
Thank you. Bob Bates.
I'm supposed to be speaking with a couple of small points. I think I'd like to scale up John's concern to an even higher level because I'm afraid, from what I've seen, that the field of economic history may be disappearing, precisely the reason you're talking about. It's not accepted well within economics departments because they're doing real stuff as opposed to formal modeling. And that would be, I think, a terrible loss. Joel shaking his head now. Yeah. His disagreement is better founded than my concerns.
Indeed.
One of the areas where I think Barry and Figueredo did an article that was about persuasion and the use of rhetoric in trying to change people's behavior. And I think we really ran into a real problem, and it's not, and it made me back away from a lot of the work about beliefs and cognitive systems and whatnot, because I couldn't see how to solve the problem or how to approach it. And that was that if you treat sort of beliefs about how the world works as the denominator of a Bayesian updating expression, it sort of looks, when you talk through the problem, it looks like it's going to work. But then you run into two problems, which I'll discuss. And that's the question as to why would anybody listen? If I know that if I change my beliefs to your set of beliefs, then you will have influenced my behavior to follow a strategy that's consistent with what you want. Why should I believe your beliefs are better than my beliefs? I mean, it's cheap talk. And yet people do talk a lot and try and persuade each other. So I just can't see how that kind of problem becomes researchable, or that kind of framework becomes researchable. Lastly, E-Type, my dad was a Marine. He got us all up at 4:30 in the morning. I can guarantee you can recover from this.